All right, welcome everyone to the capstone episode of the Business Edge podcast from Central Arizona College Small Business Development Center. Today's episode is all about turning your business plan into an actionable roadmap for success. If you've been following along, you've already laid the groundwork for your business plan, your business idea, identified your market, developed your lean plan, and the skeleton of a marketing and sales plan. Now it's time to execute.
Yes, you've done everything you need to. You've legally established your business. You set up your financial and operational structures. Now it's time to focus on execution. And the key to success is translating that business plan into a step-by-step action plan with clear priorities, timelines, assignments, and measures of progress. Let's face it, Kevin, as a business owner, you have lots of hats. You're going to be the owner, probably a lender, maybe a financer of the business. You've got to be the leader, the manager, the HR department sometimes, the bookkeeper. Maybe you're fulfilling orders.
You're the custodian.
And even the custodian.
You're the mailroom guy. Right?
That's right. What we need to do now is we need to look at our business plan and ask this question for each section. What needs to happen to achieve what is in our business plan? Then create that action plan. What needs to be done, who will do it, and what date must it be done by?
Yep, this is the crucial point now. We're taking all of that work we've done up until this moment, and now we're placing it into a step-by-step plan for executing that whole plan that you've built. Perhaps the most important step of all, really, when you think about it.
And you know what? I see a lot of businesses that don't do that. They've got a business plan, they put it in a 3-ring binder, and they put it up on the shelf. That's great. But those that turn that business plan into an action plan, I can guarantee you their success rate is going to skyrocket.
That's right. And it gets everybody on the same page, everybody's pulling on the rope in the same direction, all of those wonderful euphemisms. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a step-by-step approach to this final bit. So that first step is defining your first 90 days. Let's create an action plan around those first 90 days. So when it comes to creating an action plan, you need to have the actual deliverables, what's going to be done, who's going to be doing them, and by what dates those steps are going to be accomplished. So it's about identifying the critical priorities for the first 90 days. What do we got to get done in this first quarter? Breaking those priorities into weekly and monthly milestones, as I said, assigning deadlines and responsible parties, and making sure that what's in the plan gets executed.
Right. And we like to measure. So when we talk about things, we like to have measurements there. Something we can measure. 23 of this, 4 of that, 6 every day. Something that we can measure. All right. That's critical. And then, as we'll go through this, one of the sections we're going to talk about is reviewing those measures of performance on a regular basis. It might be weekly, and it might be monthly, but we need to have a review of those things.
Yeah, it's one thing to come up with all of this, actually have all the steps, assign the duties, the due dates, but if you don't go back and review and have some accountability,
what's the purpose?
You got bupkis.
Yeah, and people often say, I'm so busy working in my business, I forget to work on my business. This action plan is working on your business, and boy, if you'll do it, it'll keep you on that straight and narrow.
That's right.
All right. Kevin, let's look at step number 2. That's transform your business plan into a 90-day action plan. Let's look at some of the main topics found in a complete business plan for building out that action plan. Would you start with marketing?
Sure. So again, what we're going to do now is we're going to take sections from this hypothetical business plan, your business plan really, but in our world it'll be a little hypothetical. We're going to take sections from that business plan, and then we're going to show you how you might convert that into an action plan. That's what we're after here. So in this first bit here, the part of the marketing section in our business plan states, we'll use social media to drive suspects to our website and build awareness. So that's the statement in the business plan. Now let's convert that into an action plan. Let's transform that, if you will. So the action really is, when it comes to the social media side of our marketing, is to create 5 posts per week for the first 4 weeks. In those posts, we want to include a headline, we need the feature benefit, and finally a call to action in each of those posts. And in this fictitious business, we're going to assign that responsibility to Jana, and we're going to assign a due date of March 31st for that. So that's the first step. Next bit is to develop a simple sales funnel. That's taking your prospects from awareness to interest to purchase and retention. And we're going to hand off that responsibility to Mike. Mike and Jana are the team here, and the due date for that, well, we had originally placed it for March 31st, but wait a minute, we need to develop that funnel, and as we were creating this, no, we need to back that up. So check the March 31st date, let's make this March 15th and finalize that in our action plan.
Very good. What we've got is, we've got an action that needs to be taken, we've got a person who's responsible for doing that action, and a date that it must be done by. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about sales. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. But part of the business plan states, once we've identified prospects who've expressed an interest at our website, we'll be automatically sending a chapter from our ebook via email, followed with a phone call to close the sale. All of this is going to be tracked via a customer relationship management CRM tool. So we know that those responding are looking for information on what we are selling. Our sales forecast calls for $4,000 in sales in the first quarter. Our product sells for $235 each. So it's going to take 17 sales to reach that goal of 4,000.
That's basically 4,000 divided by 235, right?
Right.
That gets us to approximately 17 sales to reach the
Yes.
$4,000 goal in our first quarter.
Here's the hard part, Kevin. That's going to equate to 566 calls needing to be made based on the industry average of 3% close ratio. Whoa. So if we take a quarter, that's going to equate to, now 566 calls sounds like a lot, but if we take a quarter, that really equates to 9 calls per day.
Okay.
All
And
right.
where did we get the ratio, that 3% close rate on the calls?
For this business, I just looked at an industry journal, and that's basically what they said.
Okay.
No.
So you're getting that from an industry benchmark?
Yes.
Okay. Very
Yes.
good.
Now, I think that our sales team and our product can increase that, but we're going to go with what industry says is standard.
Okay. So there might be some upside that we'll realize. Who knows?
Oh, I'm hoping so, Kevin.
Very good.
I'm hoping so.
Very good.
So let's look at the action plans. I'm going to put these up on the screen. Number 1, obtain and install autoresponder on the website. Who's going to do that? That's going to be Jana, and we want that done by February 15th. Next, write the autoresponder email and add chapter attachment. That's going to be Jana, and that's going to be February 19th. Write a phone call script for follow-up. That's going to be assigned to Mike, and he's got February 21st to do that. Now, he can get it done sooner, that's okay, but we're going to check on that. Should be done by the 21st of February. Decide on and purchase a CRM. We're going to assign that to Mike as well. Oh, we originally thought that was going to be done by February 20th, but as we started looking at things and writing out this action plan, we decided it needed to be February 15th. Set up that CRM. Make sure it's automated. That's going to be Mike, February 20th. Then we've got start the first full week in March. Keep track of 9 calls made per day and track response and objections. Who's going to do that? Mike. And we're going to have that happen from March 1st through May 31st. Next, we're going to calculate the conversion rate. Notice we have monthly in there. Why monthly? Because if you have a conversion rate at the end of 1 week, I don't think your sample number is going to be large enough.
Yeah,
to
we're working
really-
on a 3% conversion rate. It's just too small at
It's
that
too
point.
small.
You need a longer term.
So we're going for a month on that. And notice at the very end here where it says due date, we've got March 31st, April 30th, May 31st. We're doing this at the end of every month. We're going to say, okay, Mike, let's pull this information out. Where are we at? How do we do?
How do we do?
Lastly, calculate the cost per acquisition. Again, on a monthly basis. Mike's going to do that at the end of each of these next 3 months.
When you look at this, it appears, and this is just an aside, that Mike is kind of more of the sales team, if you will, and Jen is more on the marketing side.
I would say that's correct.
This is not atypical for a business that's a husband and wife team,
Right.
so it's the way it can be. All right, let's move on to operations. So in the business plan, the operations section states, or at least a part of it states, until we reach a level of revenue that makes sense, we'll be manufacturing our own product. We'll purchase all components from multiple vendors and do the assembly and packaging in-house. Delivery will be just in time using standard shipping methods. Okay, so there's the statement in the business plan. Now let's transform that into our action plan. First bit there is, we need to identify the vendors. That's Phil's responsibility, and he needs to get that done by February 15th. As part of that, of course, you identify, but then you need to negotiate the terms, negotiate those agreements. Phil's going to do that by March 15th. We need to purchase our packaging and shipping. We need our packaging and shipping stuff. Phil's going to handle that by March 20th. We'll establish an account with a shipping company. Kara, the third part of this team, is going to accomplish that by March 20th as well. Take delivery of components and inventory. Kara is going to be responsible by March 30th. Assemble those products. Phil is going to take care of that by April 15th. And then we're going to ship those orders just in time. Phil is also responsible for that, and that will be an ongoing responsibility as it happens.
I would assume that at the end of every week, if we've shipped something out, we're going to start looking at some of the stats on that. So, yeah, that makes sense. Ongoing.
Sure.
Okay, let's take a look at finance. Now, this is interesting. As I go through this, you're going to say, but didn't you talk about this in your sales section? So here it says, our part of the business plan states our revenue forecast for Q2 is $4,000. Okay.
Very good. So that's $4,000 in 90 days.
$4,000 in 90 days. We know that our product sells for $235 each, and it's going to take us 17 sales to reach that goal. And that equates to 566 calls that need to be made based on the closing ratio of 3%. That's the industry average.
Yep.
All right. So let's take a look at our action plan. Here's the action plan for finance. We took that $4,000, we divided it by $235, the cost of our product, and that equals 17 sales. Mike's going to do that by February 15th. Okay. 17 sales over 12 weeks in the quarter means 1.42 sales per week. Mike's doing that by February 15th. You're going to see Mike's doing all of this, Mike and Jana, by February 15th. We need to know what needs to happen so we can then create that sales action plan.
Sure, this is actually creating those measures by which we'll judge our performance, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next one is from industry benchmarks. We know the average close rate is 3%. This means that we need to make 566 calls to reach our 17 sales. There are 60 working days in a quarter, so that's 566 calls divided by 60 days equals 9.4 or 9 calls per day to make our goal. All right. Mike's doing that. Again, we're going to do that by the February 15th, and then implement this in the sales plan. There's that bottom thing. We've got all our metrics here. Now we're going to take that back up and put it in our sales plan. And Mike and Jan are going to do that by February 15th.
Excellent. So this is how you can take the elements of a business plan and transform them into an action plan so that you can actually get that stuff done. Let's move on to the next step. This is developing systems. We develop systems for consistency, efficiency, thoroughness. It's a way of of getting things done right and getting them done well, really. That's what it
Yes.
is. It's developing ways to do those things. And when you do that, everybody knows what they need to do. They've got the plan. And it also prevents missing steps that can actually lead to problems or even failure in the business. So developing systems is so crucial to getting things done well, in my humble opinion. So you need to develop the system for selling, how you're going to fulfill orders, for instance, collecting payments, staying connected to customers, inventory management, and more than just that, of course. It's a way to make sure that you've systematized how you get stuff done.
Well, everybody talks about McDonald's and their systems. They've got systems in place. That means they can throw a teenager in there, and with very little training, they can follow that system to make your hamburger.
That's right.
So systems are critical. Developing these strong systems is key to building small business efficiency, and as you said, avoiding burnout, missing steps. So let's go through the steps to create a system for a small business.
And I want to add one thing too. When I always go back to my photography business, in the sales session where we had our clients in after photography and they're making their selections, we knew that there were certain steps that needed to be taken in that sales session. And if we didn't hit all of those steps, and in fact, even in that order, we'd always make a sale in this particular situation. But if we missed a step, we knew at the end of the day, we're not going to make as much money as we should have. We've missed a step, and that actually drove down sales. It was just that simple. When we hit all of those steps in that order, we would always maximize our sales and maximize profits.
Good. Step number 1, understand the purpose of systems. So we know systems create consistency, efficiency, and scalability. All right? They reduce reliance on any one person, including you, the owner.
Sure enough.
That's critical. We don't think about that. But what happens if your number 2 person ends up in the hospital, they're there for a week and a half, you can't communicate with them? If you've got a written system down, all of a sudden you or somebody else can step in, follow that system, and get things accomplished. And this is interesting. It really does free up time for strategic growth. Rather than putting out fires on a daily basis, you know what needs to be done. You don't have to think about it. It's now on autopilot. Just do these things, and we'll accomplish what we need to accomplish.
You bet. It's such a crucially important part of getting the business up and running is having established these systems. And there'll be some tweaks and changes. Oh, there's that tweak word.
Yeah.
But it's so important to establish these processes and live by them. So
Yes.
let's take the second bit of this, creating systems, and that's identifying the core business functions that need systems to begin with. So every business operates with a number of essential processes, of course. For instance, there's a sales process, right? How do you attract, engage, and convert leads into customers? Order fulfillment, crucially important to know how you do that. So how do you ensure products or services are delivered correctly and on time, of course? Inventory management. How do you track stock levels? How do you go about the process of reordering? How do you prevent waste? All of these things require systems. There's customer service and support. How do you handle customer inquiries, complaints, follow-ups? How do you keep your customers happy, right?
Yes.
Financial management. How do you track income? How do you track expenses and profitability? That's one of the core pieces of that, of course, is accounting software, which you end up living and dying by. Marketing and lead generation. How do you consistently attract new customers, right? How do we go about that process? Well, let's get that written down and then act on it. And another option perhaps is hiring and training. If indeed it's not just you and the wife, you're going to have to hire other people. Well, how do you do that? How do you onboard them? What training do you follow? Do you have an employee handbook? Those kinds of things. So building systems for those kinds of things. Identifying those core things in your business that require systems and then going about creating those systems themselves.
Sounds like a lot of work, but step number 3 is design each system with clarity and simplicity. All right? It doesn't have to be hard. I've seen people spend hours writing things out. It doesn't need to be written out. All it needs to be is a checklist, boom, boom, boom. Flow charts are awesome for this kind of thing.
Sure enough.
All right? And if you're really into it, you can write out some SOPs, standard operating procedures.
I was a big fan of those.
Now, some industries do need SOPs. If you're in manufacturing and you're or at least going to be ISO certified, you do need written SOPs. If you're doing a service, I'm not sure you need that. That checklist or maybe the flow chart is enough. That's all you need.
Sure.
But these things should define who does it, when do they do it, and how does it get done.
You bet. Makes sense to me.
Now, we just talked about doing all that. We can leverage. Step number 4 is leveraging technology. Oh, this is where being an entrepreneur in today's age really pays off, because we have things that can automate all this for you. For example, customer management. Well, use a CRM, customer
relationship management. I get that happens to me all the time too. CRM is customer relationship management.
Yeah. What about point-of-sale software and hardware? Well, you got Square and Shopify that can help put everything in place for you.
They have soup-to-nuts solutions.
Yes. Yes. Accounting and inventory tracking. You got QuickBooks, Xero, FreshBooks, all kinds of software out there that you can put into, and they really do have your system in place. Do this, then this, then this, then this. Sometimes all you have to do is this, and the software does this, this, and this.
Sometimes the software actually creates the automations and the system itself.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Customer support. Use a ticketing system like Zendesk or Freshdesk. Marketing automation. I love these tools. There's so many good tools out there, Kevin. You've got things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Active Campaign, or Hootsuite. All these things can make your life so much easier.
Yeah, they certainly can.
And we can't forget one of our favorite, and that is the AI engines. Chat, Chat, GPT, Gemini, Copilot, all those things are there for us to use.
And they change every day. There's more of them every day. My goodness,
They improve every day.
It's impossible to keep up with it, but it is part of your job as a business owner to be aware of these things and how you can leverage them in your business. That's for sure.
For example, I'm just going to share this. Kevin had somebody come in. They had some processes they need. Kevin says, well, tell me what needs to get done. He listed them out. He put them in one of these AI engines, and they kicked back and said, here's a possible process you could use. Done, just like that.
And I believe it's important for you to be leveraging these tools to do just what we're talking about. My goodness, they'll automate what we're discussing here in the first place. The next step in this is to test, refine, and improve these systems over time. So you want to first start by actually running the systems with real scenarios. It's the only way to find out if they really work, right? Then receive feedback on how that went, and then make necessary adjustments. There is that loop a bit of it all. Bottlenecks can really completely collapse a business, or at least the systems. So it's important to look for the bottlenecks, find out where those things are falling down, and then make adjustments as well. You always constantly want to improve the efficiency of your systems, removing unnecessary steps, adding automations wherever it's possible. So you're constantly testing, refining, and making adjustments to those systems.
Yes. Step number 6 is train your team and delegate. Now, I like this. The system is only as good or as strong as the people using it.
Yep.
Okay? Ensure your people know what to do, what's expected of them. If they've got a flow sheet or a checklist, they know what's expected of them. And the best part of this, Kevin, is you can now delegate. And you can delegate knowing that they know what needs to happen and in what order. I like that.
Sure enough, absolutely. The next step in this is to measure the performance and make adaptations. This is where we're going to introduce this whole concept of KPIs, or key performance indicators. These are things that you use to track success. So here's some examples of KPIs. Sales conversion rates, order fulfillment time, inventory turnover rate, customer satisfaction scores, revenue and profit margins. All of these are major key performance indicators, KPIs, that can help you stay on track, that can measure how well you're actually performing and how well you're actually doing with your action plan.
And we even had some of those in those action plans we had. I'm thinking back on that sales plan where it says we need to make 9 sales calls a day.
That's a KPI.
That's a KPI. We now know that's what we're shooting for.
Yep.
If Mike only makes 3 calls per day, you're going to have a very good Mike making sales in order to reach that $4,000 in 3 months.
Either that, or you're going to need to make some adjustments somewhere. Maybe it's the script that they're using, right?
Yes.
There needs to be changes. If you're not attaining that goal of 9 a day, what's happening? We need to be able to review that, and those KPIs allow us to identify those things and then make the adjustments.
Yeah. It sounds like it's overwhelming. It's really not. Step number 8 really says it. Keep it simple and scalable. Start with small, repeatable, easy to follow steps. Let's not make it too complicated. Make sure the system can scale as you grow. The best system is one you actually use.
Yeah, that's an awesome point, right? The best systems are the ones you actually use, of course.
So we like those systems, ones that are being used. And step number 4, this is my favorite. It's accountability and continuous improvement, okay? Stay on track with your action plan. This accountability, how'd we do? Mike, did you make your 9 calls every single day this week? If not, why not? We want accountability. And by the way, if Mike knows that we're actually going to follow up with him at the end of every week, those 9 calls, they're going to be made.
Yeah.
He's going to make those.
There's motivation through that,
Absolutely.
Isn't there? Yeah, no kidding.
Yes. So on a weekly basis, measure your progress against the action plan that you created. Were things accomplished on time? If not, why not? What were the outcomes of the accomplishments? Did we get what we needed to? Set weekly and monthly check-ins on progress goals towards and identify bottlenecks that need to be addressed. There's going to be times where, hey, things aren't working right. We need to ask the question, why? Well, because, all right, let's address that. That's a bottleneck that needs to be addressed. But if you wait till the end of a year or 6 months, you're going to have 6 months where that bottleneck could have been removed and things could have been happening more efficiently and more effectively. So, again, analyze what's working, what's not. Pivot if necessary. Now, I hate to say that, Kevin. Pivot if necessary. Look, we wrote a business plan for a reason. That business plan gets us where we want to go.
Yep.
So I hate to pivot. I don't like to see people go, oh, things aren't working, I'm going to pivot. Or I've even seen people say, this is a bad idea, I need to change it to something else. No, you got a business plan, we've got an action plan, let's keep working that. When I talk about pivot, maybe, and I'm talking pivot could be something like you just mentioned, the sales script needs to be revised. Okay, that's the kind of pivot I'm talking about here, not completely throwing everything out and doing something else. Make incremental changes, see if we can see better results with that. And if it's just you, it's sometimes really difficult to be accountable to ourselves.
The solopreneur dilemma.
Yes. Find a mentor. If you've got a significant other, be accountable to that person. I know when I first started being an entrepreneur as a married man, I would have accountability meetings with my wife. Here's what I did this week.
She was the boss.
She was the boss. Here's where we're going. So yes, be accountable. And if you can't find anybody, you know what? Kevin and I are both here for you. Set up an appointment and talk to us. And we do have people that are accountable. And they come in, they say, here's what we did, here's the results. What are your thoughts on this? What could we do?
Yep.
just somebody else to bounce ideas around.
That's something what we do best at SBDC is hold you accountable. That's part of what we do.
Yes.
Right? I think back to one of our earlier podcasts when we talked about plan your work your plan, right? To make changes to that plan, as you were mentioning, you got to have a very good reason to make a change to that plan. And those can arise all the time, don't get me wrong, but you just don't want to do it willy-nilly. We tried 10 calls yesterday and we didn't get any traction, so we got to make changes. Well, not on a daily basis.
Right.
Give it a little bit of time before you actually have some data to make some valued decisions based on that data. Again, I love this old adage, right, is in God we trust, all others bring data, please. So very important to have real reasons for making changes. Otherwise, plan your work your plan.
Yes.
All right, so we've gone through the process of taking our business plan and transforming it into an action plan with step-by-steps, who's going to do what and when that's going to be done.
Yeah.
Crucially important to actually making things finally come together and work. After all, that's what this whole podcast was about today. So let's talk about the final takeaways. I love this statement. A business plan is the map,
Yes.
but an action plan is the journey.
Yes.
And we all know that it's really not about the destination, it's about the journey, man. Well, I would say that it's also about the destination, which to me is profitability and living that life that you had hoped you would by owning your own small business, right? You want to focus on short, measurable milestones and instead of overwhelming long-term goals. So pick and choose those bits that can be accomplished as opposed to this huge thing that's never going to get done, let's be honest. So, the old idea of going back to SMART goals, things that are actually attainable.
Yeah, that's why we broke it down into a 90-day action plan. That's something that we can wrap our hands around. We can evaluate that. After the first 90 days, you'd probably do another 90 days. After that, you might go 6 months out.
Sure.
And at some point, you're going to do annual planning because we know the processes. The processes have been vetted. They work. Okay? That's why we say track your progress. Review weekly or monthly, depending on what we're looking at. And then that's why we say stay accountable. It's that accountability where you get the feedback that we can start to make the changes. Your success, their success, everybody's success as an entrepreneur, it really does depend on consistency and execution.
Yeah, it really, when it comes down to it, it's all about execution and being consistently executing well, right?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so that's a wrap on this capstone episode of the Business Edge podcast, putting it all together. We hope you'll visit our website at the URL or web address that you see on the screen there. If you'd like some one-on-one counseling, this is what we do best at the SBDC. Just click the Request Counseling button. All of our services, of course, are at no cost to you. So my name's Kevin.
And I'm Cal.
Thank you for watching the Business Edge podcast from the Central Arizona College Small Business Development Center.
And here's to your ultimate success.